Hello ladies and gentlemen, today I'm here to talk about two graphic novels, March Book 1 and A.D. New Orleans After the Deluge. Both of these books were shortlisted for my university's Common Book Program, and since I'm on the selection committee, I received both of these books for free. These are both nonfiction pieces of sequential art, and first I'm going to talk about March Book 1. This was written by Congressman John Lewis, co-written by Andrew Aden with art by Nate Powell. Congressman John Lewis is an important figure in the civil rights movement that took place in the United States in the 1960s and 70s. This book tells the story of his experiences, starting with his childhood in rural Alabama and spanning through influential meetings with Martin Luther King Jr. and his involvement in a movement that involved non-violent sit-ins to battle segregation. The way the story is formatted is that at the beginning, set in a more present time, a woman takes her two young boys to meet this very influential man before an event he's going to speak at. He begins a conversation with them and starts telling his story. First, I'd like to touch on the art by Nate Powell. The work inside the graphic novel is all done in this really beautiful contrasty black and white. It really suited the narrative, although I was a tiny bit disappointed to not see some of this lovely color that's here on the cover. Another thing, when I read sequential art that's in black and white, I usually have some difficulty differentiating between different characters, but I didn't have a problem with this at all, which is a true testament to Nate Powell's abilities. Now onto the writing of March. I felt like this was a very informative and accessible way to give out this information. It was a fast read, but that being said, I felt like sometimes it was a little bit too much like reading a history textbook. It was a little bit dry, not boring, but not as exciting as the narrative demanded it to be. Also, I felt like it was kind of cut short. I know that this is a first volume, but I really feel like this story would best be told in a compendium of the whole story, because it felt like I was reading a book with like 20 chapters and it got cut off right after chapter 5. So I was eager to know more, and I was very captivated by this story. Basically what I'm trying to say is I believe that this graphic novel works best in an educational environment and not so much to be read for pleasure, although I enjoyed it, and I know that others have as well. Like I said, I think it's a great and accessible way to give out this information to others who may not go seeking it on their own. Next, on to A.D. New Orleans After the Deluge. The writing and art was done by comic journalist Josh Neufield. This tells the stories of half a dozen people who were affected by the Hurricane Katrina that came through New Orleans in 2005. Josh Neufield spent a couple of weeks with the American Red Cross helping with disaster relief, and during that time he compiled these stories and put them on his blog, but they later became this book. First, I'd like to talk about the art. I've seen some reviews where people think that the art is a little bit obnoxious, his use of colors, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed his use of colors and his art style, and I thought that it added to the book. As far as writing goes, the writing was good and it felt like a documentary, but I felt like it was a pretty surface level depiction of the outcome of Hurricane Katrina. I didn't feel like any of the people who he portrayed here experienced any kind of incredible loss. Not to say that materialistic loss isn't loss, I just felt like it was a very superficial depiction of the loss that occurred in New Orleans. Basically, I just wish that there were more people represented that had experienced more loss during this tragic event in U.S. history. Overall, I think that this book will stand the test of time, and it's a great reminder of this event that happened in U.S. history. Overall, these nonfiction graphic novels were informative and had art that did the narratives justice. They both were lacking just a little something and ended up being solid 4-star books, and I would recommend them if you can pick them up at your local library. As always, please feel free to leave your thoughts and comments on anything that I shared today down below, and I will see you soon with a new video. Thank you for watching. Bye!